If you wonder why I'm wearing pajamas, it's because after here, we're going to do a Friday night jammy party, as well as discuss this case and Making a Murderer. So I also want to warn you, you are going to see graphic pictures to my left and right here. But this case wouldn't be this case without these graphic pictures. So I apologize if anyone's stomach gets queasy. I tried not to take the worst of them, but I feel that it's important in this case to show what happened to this innocent little girl. So if you're not familiar with the case, I'm going to explain it, but I don't want to get into too much of the background of it. There's a lot of important stuff that who killed her. The case is not a cold case. It is an ongoing investigation still. They recently just did DNA testing in June of 2018, which I believe cleared Burke. And everybody is, Burke did it, Patsy did it, or John did it. I'm not going to give my opinion yet, but there's a lot of facts that a lot of people don't know because they automatically honed in on Burke, Patsy, and John. So just to give you somewhat of a background, on Christmas Day of 1996, Patsy Ramsey woke up in her Boulder, Colorado home to find a ransom note. That ransom note was supposedly written by, some factor people, false faction, or it was retarded. The note came from inside the home. It was written from paper inside the home. And honestly, nobody is going to write a ransom note that's 3 damn pages. And happens to be the exact amount of John's letter. John's bonus. It was like $118,000. Nobody's going to do that. So that's where Patsy Ramsey, I was going to say Patricia, Patsy Ramsey kind of got the blame. In years to come, which I'm going to get more into, but just in years to come, John was cleared of writing that note. Burke was cleared of writing that note, but Patsy was never cleared. In 2003, Patsy died. And then the DA, basically exonerated them for that they can't be charged. So JonBenet, police automatically suspect that John and Patsy did it or somehow involved in their daughter's disappearance. But the problem is the cops made so many errors trying to, find what was going on. They let people in the house. They have, Patsy had tons of people in and out. They did not treat it like a crime scene. I honestly don't know what the cops were thinking, but they were not thinking with their heads. It was such a travesty of what went on. And, there was one cop, this female cop, you could find her video. She's like real freaky looking. Like she makes these really weird faces and her eyes bug out like a fish. Seriously, it does. And she went on to say that she definitively knows it was Burke. No, it wasn't Burke. And I'm going to explain, you're going to see a lot of things that pop up afterwards that you're going to realize, you know what, maybe she's right, it wasn't Burke. So her body was covered in a white blanket. Under the blanket, she had a nylon cord wrapped around her neck. Her wrists were tied above her head, and she had duct tape covering her mouth. When the autopsy was performed, which determined that she had died of strangulation and a fractured skull, she was strangled using a garrote made from a tweed cord and a broken paintbrush handle. The garrote showed an advanced knowledge of knots. The autopsy also found that there was no evidence of rape, but there was a possibility of sexual assault. So she was also a beauty queen, and a lot of people, automatically thought maybe it was tied to that. Maybe, it had something to do with that. Then the other rumors that went around were it was the mother that did it, and Burke did it, and then the mother killed, made it worse and wrote this ransom letter, and she was covering up for her son. That's a logical, story. And a lot of people said, you know what? I would never cover up for my son. I'll go to hell and back for my kids. If my son ever did something to his sister, and let's say I lost her, I'm not going to put him in jail. I'm going to cover for him because I already lost one kid. I don't want to lose two. So I don't blame Patsy if that's the scenario. And I don't think any good mother out there would. If my son killed somebody else, I'd turn him in. But if he killed somebody in the own family, why do I want to lose two children? It's bad enough I'm losing one. I'd put him in a psych ward or something, but jail's not going to, why'd you kill your sister? Jail's not going to help him. So, but I don't want to get too sidetracked, but as a mom, I would have done the same thing if my son killed my daughter, especially at 9 years old. So anyway, they found JonBenet's body in advance rigor mortis, which led investigators to conclude that the time of death was between 10 p.m. on Christmas and 6 a.m. on the 26th. They believe that she died somewhere closer to 10 because of how much decomposition was starting already. So investigators found several pieces of evidence at the crime scene. First, the initial report said that there were several open windows and at least one open door in the house that night. Now, I always said it's Boulder, Colorado on Christmas. It's not exactly 90 degrees. I don't know why they would have so many open windows. Who opens their windows in Colorado in the middle of the winter? I can't think of too many people. So even if it was just like unlocked, why would you unlock it? Like, are you going to open them? I don't know. I just found that weird. There was also a broken window in the basement that could not properly be closed. This is considered... sorry about that. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I'm tired. So I apologize for that. It's considered one of the most likely entry points to what would become the crime scene. However, knowledge of this broken window was not made available until a year after the murder, possibly due to the public consensus that the Ramseys are the perpetrators and didn't need to gain entry into their home. In addition to that, they had really, really thick carpeting in their house, so anybody could have walked in. Police also found a bowl of pineapple. This is like the infamous pineapple on the kitchen table that Burke's fingerprints were on it. Now, Patsy said that nobody had pineapple. Could his fingerprint been on a bowl from earlier that day? They were at a Christmas party. Did Burke and, JonBenet sneak downstairs where he said, come help me? The only problem with that theory is that supposedly Patsy woke up to, JonBenet had peed in her bed or something. She had a habit of doing that. And JonBenet, I'm sorry, I keep getting them confused. Patsy had gone in there to change her sheets, may have freaked out. So I don't know when this intruder would have came in. One of my own theories is that the intruder was already downstairs when Patsy sent the two of them downstairs, maybe to go get food. I'm thinking that it's possible that Burke saw him or he took JonBenet or something, and Burke went into shock. Like Burke couldn't deal with it and ran upstairs and freaked out and swore he would never gonna, see daylight again. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I've always thought maybe that's a possibility. And then, or maybe he saw JonBenet get murdered. Maybe he saw somebody hit her in the head and he ran upstairs to his room. I don't know. None of us know. And, you guys can bash me all you want and say, no, that you're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is none of us know how it happened, so it's just a theory that I have. It's never been disproved. It's never been proved, but it's never been disproved either. So let me get back to the facts. Now, Patsy said that Burke had been sleeping the entire events of the crime. So that means that there's a significant break between the story the Ramseys provided and the actual physical evidence. That's also a cast out on Patsy. A lot of people thought, maybe Burke did kill her. Police found a broken paintbrush in the basement's boiler room. The other piece of the paintbrush was used to create the garrote. So there were pieces of broken glass and scuff marks around the broken window in the basement, though there were no signs of disturbance on the windowsill. There are fingerprints, handprints, and a boot print that have still not been identified, but they have ruled out that it was matched anyone in the house. Now, again, the police botched the investigation so much, so it's hard to tell. But they investigated over 400 people, and of that 400 people, the handprints, fingerprints, and blueprint did not match any of them. Lead investigators stated that they believed JonBenet knew her killer and therefore trusted them enough to leave her bedroom, possibly lured her out with the promise of pineapple. Because the Ramseys enjoyed entertaining, the murder occurred, during a time of great holidays. It could have been anybody. As you guys know, Patsy and John spent years in the public eye, never being cleared until Patsy died. As far as the handwriting samples, like I stated earlier, with the handwriting samples, John and Burke were cleared. Patsy was not. She was never cleared of it. In 2013, documents for child abuse resulting in death, the 1999 grand jury had voted to indict them on that. And for some reason, the lead investigator would not do it. Lead investigator said no. Now, this is where it gets interesting, and you may not have known this. I've watched all the films on it, all the documentaries on it. I don't think this was in it. In 2003, investigators extracted a DNA sample from JonBenet's underwear. Now, mind you, 2003 DNA evidence is still not what it is today, but it was certainly a lot better than it was in 1996. So the test determined that the DNA belonged to an unknown male. The DNA was submitted to the FBI's CODA system, which contains DNA from convicted felons and sex offenders. The sample has yet to be matched. That was in 2003. On June 24th of 2006, nearly 10 years later, Patsy died and with a long battle of cancer. She's buried next to JonBenet in Atlanta, Georgia, where the family lived before moving to Colorado. Now, in 2008, the district attorney announced, due to recent developments in DNA technology, the Ramsey family is no longer considered to be involved in the murder of JonBenet. The DA wrote an open letter to John Ramsey apologizing for the public ordeal and how bad they were smashed. Well, this is where it gets even more interesting. In October 2016, the DNA sample from JonBenet's underwear was tested again, and this time it revealed markers from not one, but two unidentified assailants, complicating the investigation even further. So her underwear had DNA from two men. So it wasn't Burke. Lou Smith was right. It's an intruder. There's no other reason why this DNA would be on her underwear. So Lou Smith, in an interview with NBC Today Show, offered photographs from the Ramsey, from their house and from the autopsy of the 6-year-old JonBenet. And he says makes the case that the girl was killed by an intruder. The photographs shown can include images of marks on the girl's body. Now, Smith says could have been made from a stun gun used to subdue her, as well as a white cord tied around her wrists. Law enforcement officials have held on to the suspicion that her parents killed her and pointed that there was no sign the girl was struggled and, was brought out of her bedroom to the basement where she was killed. Smith said the photographs provide evidence that the girl could have been incapacitated before she was carried to the basement. There was a suspicious suitcase by the window that Lou Smith believed they used to stand up on. So they didn't have, they wouldn't have jumped on the window and disturbed it. So Lou Smith puts a pretty good case for this. Smith, who was asked to come out of retirement to assist in the investigation, but resigned after 18 months, maintained that he was not working for JonBenet's parents. He said he was only continued to press the case because of his dedication to finding the killer. He totally stands in the shoes of the victim to protect their interest and everyone else in the world. Now, on the flip side, Burke, after a lot of these shows came out, Burke decided, you know what? Screw this. I'm suing. I think it was CBS or ABC's Tribute. I don't know why I can't talk. ABC's Tribute. Burke was suing. He's done. He's like, I am suing you for millions upon millions of dollars. I think it was like $750 billion or something. 750 million defamation suit arising from the case. And what's funny is the former DA, Alex Hunter, he doesn't, which I don't understand why he would fight it, because he's the one that didn't indict anyone, but I guess he felt that Burke was the killer. So Burke's suing them for like $750 million, and they decided, this former DA said, no, I'm not appearing. It would be an annoyance. It's going to affect my trip to Hawaii. Like, who does that? Hunter's arguments also assess that the compliance with the subpoena would compromise an open investigation or potential prosecution of the person or persons responsible for JonBenet's death. Hunter is one of several parties targeted with subpoenas by both sides in the high-stakes defamation claim made by Burke Ramsey. He was 9 and when his sister was killed. It was CBS. Additional parties who produced the September 2016 docuseries, The Case of JonBenet Ramsey, which was really good, by the way, which suggested Burke Ramsey was responsible for his death. So in reply, Burke sued, and honestly, I don't blame him. I would have too. It also states that Mr. Hunter normally spends November to May in Hawaii and has plans to leave Colorado on November 5th. Any deposition that does not have a strong basis unless which to take place undue burden to him is oppressive and is an absolute annoyance. The filing adds that it's hard to imagine CBS lawyers don't already have any shred of evidence of information they need to defend themselves without distressing a retired elderly gentleman about statements that it already possesses. The attorney for CBS argues that 2 public statements made by Hunter more than 18 years ago. One came in a news release in May of '99 while he was still in office, in which it noted that he said in a press conference, they're looking at Burke Ramsey as a suspect, and to this day, Burke Ramsey is not a suspect. Secondly, Hunter signed an affidavit in October of 2000, shortly before leaving office, which stated in part from December 26, 1996 to the date of this affidavit that no evidence has ever been developed in the investigation to justify elevating Burke Ramsey's status from that of witness to suspect. So if everyone who thinks Burke is definitively did it, you may want to rethink that. Hunter's recent filings argues that any information he might be able to offer now relating either to 1999 statement or 2000 affidavit is privileged and confidential because the Boulder PD investigation remains open. I think he might be right, actually. JonBenet was found by her father with a fractured skull and exfoliated by a garrote in her family's basement in Boulder the afternoon of December 26th. Patsy died in 2006 from a long battle with cancer. John Ramsey, now 74, lives with his new wife and daughter. Or, well, his daughter not lives there, but he has a daughter as well. Actually, he had a daughter in Utah. I would have left Colorado, too. Now, on the flip side of it, who killed her? You know, it's a matter of what you believe. The majority of people think it was Burke. And then if you guys saw him on Dr. Phil, he was even wackier. I don't think, like, he smiled a lot and he laughed a lot, but I think you can't look too much into it. Think of the Chris Watts case. People think Shannon was this horrible narcissist because you try to make money online. And she put her life in social media. She was trying to earn a living. But this whole case is just so bizarre, and it remains probably the biggest unsolved mystery ever. John, and let me just say, John, Patsy, and Burke have always maintained their innocence. Nothing has ever come out that definitively pointed to them, other than Patsy's ransom note. So, the other theory could be that the ransom note came after the fact that Patsy wrote, that they found her dead. Or, maybe Patsy found her dead earlier. Maybe, there's so many maybes. Maybe Burke walked in on JonBenet getting killed and ran upstairs and told her mom. Maybe Patsy, I wouldn't say maybe, I firmly believe that Patsy wrote the note after she saw JonBenet. But if you have nothing there, who are you going to think it is? You're automatically going to arrest one of the parents. Patsy was not dumb. John was not dumb. So I have to think that, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, they were right. And Patsy did the right thing because it didn't automatically make them look guilty. And I know that everyone's sitting there like, you're fucking crazy. Like, if my daughter was found in the basement, the first thing I'm going to do is call the cops. I'm not going to ignore it. But you don't know what you're going to do. None of us do. None of us can definitively say, I'm going to do this and this. You don't know. Certain things, yes. But if your first thought is, oh my God, they're going to say it's me, you may want to try to cover it up somehow, knowing that she's going to be found. Like, you can't save her. I don't know. I'm kind of just rambling, but all these things have always gone through my mind on this case. Take out any assumptions that you have, preconceived notions, biases. Approach it with a consciously assuming, phenomenal stance. Just re-examine it without presumption or prejudice. Taking a deliberate, naive, new, and dispassionate look at the case with fresh eyes, like you've never seen it before. And how do you do that? You basically just place everything that you think you know and throw it out the window. Just put it aside. You don't know any facts. It's like it happened yesterday. Because honestly, the only thing that we truly know, hands down, is this girl was a celebrity, a local celebrity, due to beauty pageants for children. She was found dead in her luxury home, and she had apparently been sadistically tortured by the perpetrator, possibly sexually assaulted, and ultimately killed. Nobody knows the exact time of death. We don't know anything. We know that she was strangled, that she was killed. There was a ligature made. We know all this stuff. This is all facts. JonBenet's cold and lifeless body, reportedly already stiff. It's almost unfathomable to sit there and think that this could possibly happen. Every time I look at pictures, I'm like, this poor little girl. I don't feel that Burke was strong enough to do it. He just wasn't that good. The biggest piece of evidence in this case is the fact that of the ransom note. But I've already explained why I think she wrote it and when she wrote it. I really can't think of another reason of why she would do that. I don't know. I just don't know. John is another one that everybody thought maybe he did it. Theorists wanted, the evidentiary detail of the case is really reminiscent of the duct tape found on Casey Anthony's 4-year-old daughter, Kaylee. According to the prosecutors during the trial, Casey Anthony, obviously not guilty, which she's guilty. Don't get me wrong. I said that wrong. Presumably killed her daughter partly because she wanted to be free, living a different life. Free lifestyle, whatever. Casey told investigators her daughter had been kidnapped by a mysterious nanny who eventually never existed. In the case, Susan Smith, the then 23-year-old mother drowned her 2 young children both about JonBenet and Kaylee's age, by driving her car into a lake with the children restrained by the seatbelts from escaping, presumably so that she could be with her new boyfriend. Prior to eventually confessing, Smith blamed the murders on a phantom carjacker. Smith had reportedly been severely emotionally damaged during childhood, blah, blah, blah. All narcissistic behavior, and they have a great difficulty placing their own selfish needs secondary to those of their children. Another one was Andrea Yates, who, by reason of insanity, killed her children. One by one. Statistically speaking, the likelihood culprits when a child dies in the home would be one of the parents, which is the main reason why the authorities focus so intensely on the Ramseys from day one, filicide. It's defined by a killing of a child by his or her parent. And it's pretty disturbing, honestly. But Department of Justice says between 1976 and 1997, which includes the year of JonBenet's death, nearly 11,000 kids like her were killed by their parents or step-parents. The motives for filicide vary from so-called altruistic filicide to supposedly well-intentioned mercy killing of sick and suffering offspring to accidental, angry retribution against the offending spouse or, going through a divorce, whatever. Is it possible that Patsy, who succumbed to ovarian cancer in 2006, could have had some intentionally or unintentionally killed her daughter? Maybe. But as in other famous cases of filicide, there would need to be some overwhelming, compelling motivation or compulsion to do so in order to overcome the innate maternal instinct to protect and defend your offspring. As much as she may have been overbearing at times, she really was a good mom. I mean, she loved her daughter. I think police looked too further into it. They were saying there was one report that she was bedwet all the time, and Patsy went on. You don't kill your daughter for bedwetting. I don't think she was that crazy. She definitely could be protecting Burke. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. I just don't see her being the one that did it. I don't see Burke being the one to do it. I certainly don't think John is the one to do it because of the note. But there were several psychiatric interviews of Patrick Ramsey subsequent to JonBenet's death, which, according to the DA, Mary Lacey, this is the one with the big eyes who's fucking crazy. She said revealed no signs of psychopathy, pathological jealousy, or envy of her daughter or violent tendencies in general. Absent any prior psychiatric history of psychopathy and all that, or any other psychosis, postpartum depression, significant mental disorder, any of them, Patsy just didn't have any of it. And even though it may look like they did it, I just don't think any of them did it. And I truly, really think that a lot of it is Burke saw something and freaked out and put it in the back of his mind, or maybe even told his mom, and that's when she wrote a ransom note. But to sit here and think, oh, he automatically did it, the evidence proves otherwise. There is no reason why there should be 2 unidentified fingerprints on her underwear that were just recently matched. I mean, that's kind of weird. The controversial DNA really does suggest that it lends support to the intruder theory, 100%. And it's been 20 years, more than 20 years, since a crime was committed. Everybody has more questions than answers. Some of them we may never know. Hopefully they will find out. I heard the DA talk saying that absolutely he will keep this case open until it's solved, the people might be dead already. You know, the guys that did it. Maybe it was someone, a foreigner. I mean, who knows? But I'm pretty convinced after the lawsuit, I really don't think that Burke would file the $750 million lawsuit against CBS if he even thought at all they had evidence. I'm hoping that Burke comes out and says, you know what? I saw it. I don't know who these people were, but I saw it. And I went into a completely, I locked myself up and I never spoke to anybody. Seeing your sister be murdered, maybe it fucked him up for life. Like, maybe he was telling Patsy what happened, and that's when Patsy wrote the note. I mean, there's so many possibilities. I can go on for an hour with just theories of what it could be. So that's the case of JonBenet Ramsey. I took a lot of notes. I read some notes that I found online. And this case, anyone can talk about it for hour after hour after hour after hour. So I'm going to cut this now. So this way we can do the live on time, which is an hour and a half by the time I upload this and you guys watch it and so on and so forth. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you check out my other videos. And I will see you guys for the live I'll see you for the premiere in about a half hour. And then I'll see you live after that. So if you're watching this video, definitely stop into the live. We usually go a couple of hours for a PJ party. Sit back, have some wine, chill, talk about making a murderer, talk about this case, talk about anything you want. We'll even talk about Scott Peterson again. So I hope you guys have a great night. If you're going to work or going to bed, see us tomorrow. And also, if I may change the 12 nights a little to cover an innocent man. And what I find interesting about it is, and I don't want to go on too long, but what I find interesting is Ryan Ferguson, the guy that set him up basically, said that he had a dream and he dreamt of this. I really wonder if he read The Innocent Man, because the guy from The Innocent Man, the whole story, all I keep thinking about is Ryan Ferguson. It's the exact same story of the kid that, ratted on Ferguson. Really interesting. I find that the series is a bit slow. The first episode, I was like, oh my God, can this speed up a little? But it's definitely worth checking out. Make sure you're not too tired because you might fall asleep, but the information on it is really good. So I'm also going to cover that. I may do that for a couple of episodes only because it's so fresh. I was thinking about also doing a watch party. So if you guys want to do a watch party, if for some reason you don't have Netflix or anything, let me know. And I'm going to put together a watch party for it. You just have to download this particular app and then we can all watch it together. All right. So let me know with the live, let me know anytime you want. And I will speak to you guys soon. All right. I'll see you guys in a little while. Peace out.